Bonjour, bienvenue à Paris. Let's talk about one of the most famous tourist destinations in the world, the Louvre Museum. Officially named the Great Louvre, or in French, Grand Louvre, it is the national museum and art gallery of France, housed in part of a large palace in Paris that was built on the right bank site of the 12th century fortress of Philip Augustus. It is the world's most visited art museum, with a collection that spans work from ancient civilizations to the mid-19th century. 800 years of history. The Louvre Palace has been transformed from a medieval fortress to an art museum over the course of 8 centuries, making it a symbol of French history. To safeguard the city, King Philippe Auguste built a square defensive castle between the Seine and the city walls of Paris in the Middle Ages. 1.5 centuries later, in the heart of the city now enclosed by a new outer wall, the Louvre fortress was converted into a royal residence by King Charles V. The castle was the main residence of François I, but it was his son Henri II who had the first wing of the contemporary palace constructed, which would become a notable example of French Renaissance style. When Henry II died, his widow Catherine de' Medici began constructing and planning the Tuileries Palace and its gardens outside of the city walls for her own use. The Grand Gallery was built on the riverfront to connect the Louvre to the Tuileries Palace and was the longest structure ever seen in Paris at 460 meters. It was the first milestone of an ambitious project that would continue under his successors. Before leaving the Louvre to reside permanently at the Château de Versailles, Louis XIV had the Cour Carrée expanded and the Tuileries Palace enlarged at the beginning of his reign. During the French Revolution, the Tuileries was used as a power center. Emperor Napoleon I created a focal point for the Tuileries garden with the attic, dedicated to his armies, and had a gallery constructed to unite the northern parts of the two palaces. Emperor Napoleon III increased building operations and constructed additional wings on either side of the Colonel Napoleon to finish the work that had been continuing since Henry IV's reign to link the Louvre and Tuileries. He doubled the size of the Louvre and completed the great architectural project undertaken by the kings of France. The Louvre, as well as the Louvre Imperial Library, what is now the Richelieu Wing, survived the 1871 town fire that destroyed the Tuileries Palace. After the remains were completely removed in 1883, the Louvre continued to evolve, eventually acquiring its symbolic glass pyramid as the museum's entrance in the 20th century. Facts about Louvre. The Louvre was established in 1793, on the 10th of August. It's the largest museum in the world. Even with its massive size, at a time it displays only 35,000 artworks out of its collection of 380,000. It's home to one of the world's most famous paintings, the Mona Lisa. It was painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the 1510s. It's the most visited artwork in the most visited museum. The Louvre has various departments that deal with various sections of art. Namely, Islamic arts, decorative arts, Roman antiquities, Greek artworks, Egyptian antiquities. Before the Louvre became a world-renowned museum, it was a clearinghouse for the Nazi German army to hide stolen pieces of art that were confiscated from wealthy families in France during World War II. The Winged Victory of Samothrace, also called the Nike of Samothrace, is a marble Hellenistic sculpture of Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, that was created in about the 2nd century BC. Since 1884, it has been prominently displayed at the Louvre and is one of the most celebrated sculptures in the world. The statue that inspired Nike's famous swoosh is one of the only original Hellenistic statues surviving today. The hidden treasures of Louvre. The museum, as mentioned, has lots and lots and lots of art. Some of the most exquisite creations that one must visit are: this is one of the oldest paintings in the Louvre, made in 1499. The bloke with the head in his hands is one of the patron saints of Paris. Saint Denis. At the center of the painting is Christ, with Mother Mary and John the Evangelist in his sides. This painting has immense meaning. It portrays that lawmakers should show great humility in the face of divine justice. This was painted in 1530. King François was a true warrior, but also a lover of culture. This can be seen by his firm grasp on his sword, and by the coexisting delicacy of his ornaments. He began the tradition of French kings becoming connoisseurs of art and patrons of artists. In fact, he's the one who persuaded Leonardo da Vinci to leave Italy and settle in France in 1516. This room is one of the most impressive reminders of the Renaissance Louvre. Designed as a royal ballroom, this spacious vaulted gallery marked the arrival of Renaissance architecture in Paris, and since the 17th century, it has displayed a prestigious collection of ancient sculptures. In 1546, architect Pierre Lescot was called by King François to construct this monumental project. The name of the room derives from the four caryatids, sculpted female figures serving as columns, that support the gallery. The most recognized piece here is the graceful Artemis with a doe in the middle of the room. This marble sculpture from the 2nd century BC was based on a bronze original made in about 330 BC. It is also known as the Diana of Versailles, as it used to adorn the Hall of Mirrors at the Château de Versailles.